Hi,
Hi.
I'm Matt. If you see me in the hall or at lunch, you can call me Matt, Matthew, Matty, Mateo. I live in Puerto Rico. Shooty, that's my last name. I'm mostly going to be talking about tech today, but when I'm not working on technology, I spend a fair bit of my time surfing. This is one of the waves that I paddled into during my 15 years of surfing Mavericks, a big wave surf spot in Northern California. That year, the photographer Phil Gibbs, he submitted this picture to the Big Wave Awards competition for the largest wave paddled into anywhere in the world. Now, I didn't win, but it was nice to be nominated. Without ever having surfed, you can look at that and think, no. Or if you speak Spanish, no gracias. Gracias, pero no. Obviously, anybody surfing waves like that is self-medicating. Okay? Whenever somebody paddles into a giant wave, my friend Will and I would turn to each other and go, that guy's got issues. And sometimes it's me that catches a crazy one. And when I paddle back out, I'd see him and say, bro, I got issues. I blame childhood trauma. All right? I moved around a lot as a kid. My dad was in the U.S. military. I actually lived here in Germany, over in Nuremberg, for a few years toward the end of the Cold War, though any German that I learned has long since drifted away. After moving around Europe, Asia, and the United States throughout my childhood, by the time I was 18, I was thoroughly convinced that the world was broken. And I found myself sort of on a mission to figure out how to make it work better. A little bit like Dr. Wurtzer here, right? Now, there have been a lot of photos of surfers like me on waves like this published over the years. This is the moment that gets shared and liked and spread around the world. This is the moment that goes viral. And I get why. This looks dramatic. But the real drama actually took place just about 30 seconds before this. The real moment is when a lump of water passes under me and reveals a monster of a wave rearing toward the sky and marching my way. This is the real moment. This is the moment when I find out whether or not I have the courage to make myself vulnerable, to try. In that moment, I have a split second to either, one, sprint like mad towards the horizon and safety. And trust me, even after a decade of surfing waves like this, your body is telling you, choose door number one. At times, it's the right choice. I'm too far inside, and it's the only option is to try to escape. But at other times, it's possible. Not easy, but possible to opt for door number two. Hold my ground, turn around, and paddle as hard as I can as the mountain behind me rises up even taller. After that decision is made, there's no hitting pause. Right? Either I'm riding, or I'm falling, or I'm having the wave land on me, or I'm underwater trying to stay calm, hoping that I reach the surface before I pass out and drown. Once I make that choice, the die is cast. And I'm just along for the ride from there on out, whatever the result. But let me tell you something. For some reason, when I'm turning to paddle into a wave like this, I'm not thinking about the jerk that cut me off on the highway, or the parking ticket that I still need to pay, or any of that stuff. All the background noise, the ADHD, the minor worries and buzzing of thoughts, it all quiets down. And I'm just trying to make it down this wave. For that brief bit of time, I'm entirely immersed in the moment. I'm present. In that moment, I'm in the state of mind that the Greeks described with the word ecstasis, or ecstasy. Me and the other mostly grown men and women that surf waves like this do it because, whee! It's really fun. Losing oneself in the moment like that is truly enjoyable. We wouldn't risk all of that if it weren't. But of course, paddling into giant waves isn't the only way to access that feeling. I'm also capable of completely losing myself in my search for ways to improve how our world works. And typically, that involves studying nature and trying to apply the lessons that I learn from natural living systems to the problem of designing communication tools to support a healthier, more thriving society. One time this guy said to me, "Are we trying to get away from nature? Who wants to live in nature? There's snakes there." And in some ways, he's right. Nature can be ruthless. But as a result, the patterns that it has stumbled onto are elegant. To me, it's kind of simple, actually. Am I going to dream up some solution on my own? Or am I going to choose to pay attention to the world around me and borrow from the solutions that have been generated and refined after billions of years of unrelenting transcontextual research? I believe that the biomimicry approach is far more promising than the, well, let me just try something. Nature is ruthless, but the patterns that it has figured out as a result are elegant. These patterns aren't simple, but they balance a number of different tensions in astonishingly beautiful ways. Efficiency and resilience, for instance. Privacy and transparency. And when I dive into the details of how these things show up all around us in the natural world, I lose myself in the experience every bit as much as I do when I'm turning around to paddle for a wave at Mavericks. A few years ago, some of my friends and I tried to apply some of the insights that we had learned from our various dances with and studies of nature and co-founded a project called Holochain. Our goal was to take a different approach to the design of communications systems based on the design patterns that we had witnessed in nature. Why a different approach? Well, similar to what Dr. Wurzer shared in his keynote, it seemed obvious to us that the way that software worked just wasn't good enough to meet society's needs. Our vision of the gap between where digital communication was at and where it should be was similar to Dr. Wurzer and the other folks at Vola. But before diving into what Holochain is, I'll actually start with what it isn't. So, first off, despite the name, Holochain is not a blockchain. I know, it says chain. Still, not a blockchain. We're not making use of global consensus. The chain comes from a technology that both blockchain and Holochain make use of, something called hash chains. But it is not a blockchain. In addition, it is not a platform. There isn't one big Holochain. Instead, Holochain is just a way of building software applications that run using just the devices of the participants themselves. Holochain isn't a platform, it's a pattern, right? It's a way to build apps. Each app operates as its own separate, encrypted, peer-to-peer network, running on the devices of the users themselves, enforcing the rules of whatever social dance they've chosen to do with one another, validating, storing, and serving content efficiently together as a community. That is true whether that group of folks has chosen to do an old school Twitter-like social dance with 140 character text messages, or something like Uber with ride shares, offers, and requests, or something like Google Docs with real-time collaborative document editing. All of this and much more is done without needing to rely on centralized servers. Or blockchains with their external incentives required. There's no mining, there's no staking for those of you in the cryptocurrency world. Or any of the fees that go along with those blockchains, not to mention the latency and energy waste still so common there, right? There are no tokens for Holochain itself. That's not required. It's just a way of running an app together, whether there's 2 of us or 2 million of us. Holochain apps are just truly peer-to-peer applications. You want to play this game, I want to play this game, great, we can play this game using just our own devices. It's so important and so different than how the world currently does things that I will repeat it again, okay? Holochain applications run on the devices of the participants themselves. Oftentimes I will give this talk and then people will go, okay, so where are the servers? No servers, right? Peer-to-peer. Each of our devices is doing a little bit of work that offsets our own use. They're doing a little bit of storage, a little bit of processing, a little bit of validation. And together as a community, we're able to do the social kinds of things that we do today, except without a company in the middle. Why a different approach? Well, as mentioned by Dr. Wurtzer, I'm sure you're already no doubt aware, today, when we use applications, there's almost always a corporation in the middle. The message that I send you using Facebook Messenger doesn't go from me to you. It goes from me to Facebook. And then Facebook forwards it to you. And when you reply, it again goes first to Facebook, who then forwards it to me. This pattern of having some company's web server in the middle is the default way that applications work on the web today. It was an unintended side effect of the way that the World Wide Web was architected and the difficulty of keeping content consistently available for others, given that web server-based architecture. I'm pretty sure that I'm not alone. Dr. Wurtzer and I are not alone in getting the sense that this isn't working well for us, right? Like everybody feels this in their daily lived experience. In fact, Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the World Wide Web, is similarly dissatisfied and has spent years and years trying to make it work better, specifically with regard to data ownership and improved privacy. One of the results of today's web architecture is that whoever is hosting those web servers actually ends up having to spend quite a bit of money to support our communication. I have a friend who we're partnered with in a different company, and he had produced a little kind of masterclass kind of thing with videos, educational content, trying to really do a bunch of good in the world. And he almost went broke because they built up about $500,000 worth of server costs serving that video content to communities around the globe. If you don't figure out a business model, and quick, in today's web architecture, in that way of building apps, then you can't keep providing that service, and the application, and usually all of our content, goes away. Now, there are a variety of business models out there. Wikipedia pays for their servers by asking for donations. Slack, Tinder, Duolingo, they each generate a good portion of their revenue by charging users a subscription for the ability to connect to other applications, access more of their own chat history, send more messages, or other premium quote-unquote features. Some of these are annoying, but none of them has done the damage that the dominant business model of the web has done: spying and manipulation for profit. You're probably already familiar with Shoshana Zuboff and what she calls surveillance capitalism. Dr. Wurtzer talked about it quite extensively in his keynote this morning. But even if you weren't, we all feel its effects every day. In large part thanks to this pattern, today's applications too often treat us not as the customer, but instead as the product. Our eyeballs are sold to the highest bidder, who is given ever greater insight into which of us to target and how best to manipulate us, thanks to the surveillance that this middleman architecture enables. How many of you have had this happen? You've received a message on one of the social media apps. You open up the app to reply to the message. Then 15 minutes later, you shake your head and realize that you've been sucked in by the algorithm and have been swiping like a zombie this whole time. Anybody? What was I doing? Right? And if you're lucky, you remember that you were trying to reply to a message and then you go do that. Today's apps have a look and feel that basically operates as a gauntlet. And it does everything it can to pull you into its world and have you spend your time the way they want you to. Those algorithms are essentially a gun pointed at our heads. But today, Vola is taking another step forward in their mission to deliver freedom through simplicity and security. Vola is countering corporate-controlled communication by embracing people-centered applications with Holochain. Holochain takes the middleman out of the equation and instead allows members of a community to run applications together as a community in ways that work for them. If there is no middleman, the power balance shifts significantly, and many of the abuses may simply disappear. Imagine that. You get to communicate with your friends, your family, your coworkers, and more without having to be spied on and manipulated. Sounds like a dream, right? It shouldn't, but at this point it kind of does. Without having someone else force you to adopt some new features that serve their interests and not yours, right? How many of you have been forced, hey, they changed the UI on you. Great, what's your choice? Stop using the app. Not, no, I liked the old UI. I don't like this infinite scroll thing or whatever. Nope, you don't get a say in that. Not in today's web. Imagine being free of being forced into some new look and feel that preys upon your time, your attention, your dignity as a human being. Vola is working to enable us to do something about it, and we need to. Because as my friend Nora Bateson puts it, dignity vanquishes zombies. Holochain's people-centered approach to applications work for us, the people, not just for them, the corporations. And they keep working. If we talk about today's applications that are fighting the good fight, right, the good ones, Signal is definitely one of them. In fact, I actually donated to Signal the other day because I support their mission and want them to be able to continue delivering their services. But unfortunately, if people like you and I don't donate to Signal, or if their leadership team makes some poorly timed business decisions, they might go bankrupt. Their servers might get shut down, and our ability to use Signal might soon cease to exist. With Holochain, applications are run by the participants themselves, with no web servers required. Holochain lets us free ourselves of corporate platforms and instead communicate through the devices of the people participating in that app. Each app is its own separate network, right? And can be run entirely free of charge and independent of anyone's business model. As long as anyone wants to keep using that application, they'll be able to do so, alongside anyone else that wants to play along as well. We're working to make it so that that is true regardless of whether the nonprofit Holochain Foundation continues to exist or the creator of any particular application continues to operate their business. Today, I'm proud to announce that Vola phone Quintus is the first mobile phone on the planet that is shipping with native support for Holochain and the people-centered applications that it makes possible. Can we get a round of applause for that? Together, we can liberate ourselves from the surveillance, manipulation, and exploitation that currently dominates our digital lives. Which brings me to the first Holochain application being shipped with a mobile phone. Introducing Relay. Relay is a messaging app. It enables you to create encrypted group chat channels. That, in and of itself, is not revolutionary. You've used group chat before. But the fact that it does so with a peer-to-peer, serverless architecture, in addition to end-to-end encryption, is revolutionary. Relay is private, serverless messaging secured by Holochain, and it's shipping on Vodafone Quintus. This is Relay. Now, I have Relay also on my own device. Relay basically has a few things. I'm going to see if, oh, I don't need to use that anymore. Yay, I can just do this. All right. So the first thing is we can create a new conversation, right? Let's pick an image. I don't know. I guess we'll just do this one. And we're going to call this work relay demo. And you can do two different kinds of things here. You can create a private conversation where somebody has given you their public key. We'll walk through that in just a moment. And then you can create a chat channel that's just operating between the two of you, and it's encrypted with your own public keys, right? So nobody else, even using Relay, is going to be able to see that. But you can also do an open conversation. And in an open conversation, you're basically creating a group chat, and you're able to invite others in by sharing an invite code with them. Now, if I hit copy invite code, it's going to copy that to my device. I'm actually going to just go here and paste that in. All right, and then let me see if I can find that here. Copy, and I'm going to show you on this device what it is that I'm doing over here. Enter invite code. So when I click this little ticket icon in the upper right side, but the left of the three icons, I get the option to enter an invite code. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm entering that invite code. I'm pasting it in. Join conversation. Okay. Let's see. Did it work? Oh, no, not that one. We'll do this one. Okay. Hello? There it is. Hello. Hi. There we are. Back and forth. Chat, right? We've all experienced chat. Nothing super phenomenal there. But the fact that this is all happening without needing to go through anybody else is a pretty significant difference. The one other thing that I'll just point at, but I won't necessarily walk through, is sharing your public key. If I click this key thing in the middle, share your public key, you can just one touch to copy. You share that through whatever channel you want, whether that's another relay channel, signal, chat, a text message, an email. Great. You share your public key. That enables the other party to create a private conversation. If I said example, and I'm not even gonna example, I won't even create private conversation. Oh, actually I might have, there we go. So I'm gonna create a personal invite code, and when I do attempt to do that, it says paste public key here, and I would paste that other party's public key in there. It generates an invite code that will only work for them. I'll share it with them, and away we go. Right? So that's a quick demo of Relay. Can I get a quick round of applause for Dr. Burtzer, the Holochain team that put all that together? I'm just the guy that gets to go show it off, right? I did very, very little work on the whole thing. But there's a brilliant team of other people that have done a ton of work to get going. So, diving back in. Relay isn't dependent on anyone's business model to continue to be viable. Right? Even if we go away or Vola goes away, you'll still be able to keep chatting with Relay. Today, Relay brings to the world peer-to-peer, end-to-end encrypted, secure messaging. But this is really just the start. Next, in partnership with Vola, we're developing a secure, private, friends and family data recovery app. The vision here is that you and your friends and family can together back up one another's content. And if something happens to your device, you can download the backups from them, even though the backup content itself would be encrypted and not readable by your siblings or your childhood friends or others that are storing the backups. The price point is a bit different than the existing cloud backup services. Whether Apple with $10 a month or Google, whatever it is that they're charging for based on how much storage you're wanting. That adds up pretty quick, especially in a family like mine. My dad was one of 17 kids, and they had kids. So you can imagine the savings over just a year, right? Not to mention the security and privacy benefits. Recover, like Relay, will be free. But this is just the beginning. As more and more applications get built, the ways that we are in relationship with the world around us will migrate away from platforms of exploitation and toward these people-centered patterns of generative communication. Vola is leading the way towards a world where communicating with the people we care about doesn't require us to give up our dignity. Together, we can create a safer, saner, more secure, and free internet. And it all starts here. Relay is launching again with Vodafone Quintus, a step towards a safer, saner, more secure, and free internet. Now, so to bring it full circle, in a way, you could say that the Vola team has been in this moment over and over during their journey, including in this partnership with us. The opportunity arose to embrace a promising, but as of then, unproven approach to software with Holochain. And Dr. Wurzer and team had the courage to choose to make themselves vulnerable and try. I'm so grateful that they did, and I'm looking forward to being along for the ride from here on out, whatever the result. Thank you.